This is Capital Games, I am the Wiz. This week marks the release of the Mega Man Battle Network Collection, a series of games that are been in one collection that were on the GBA that took Mega Man and reworked it into an RPG system where the character was on a 3x3 grid against another person with a 3x3 grid, and it was also turned into kind of a card battler of stuff. If you've played a game called One Step from Eden, the combat is a lot like that game. But this was a relatively niche game that gained a lot of popularity during the GA games. And popularity is kind of generous in this case, but there were people who definitely liked the games and really got into them around the time. Battle Network Collection has gotten a lot of people excited to play the game. I'm going to ask two questions today. What do I think the sales are going to be for the Mega Man Battle Network Collection? And is there a chance, for the fans who love these games, is there a chance that Capcom could possibly bring this series back for a Battle Network 7 or a different continuation? I will talk about that right now. So the thing with the sales when it comes to the Battle Network games, and with anything Mega Man, is we have to look at two different metrics. I'm going to first talk about the sales metrics when it comes to the Battle Network games. Now, these games are fairly old. The last one that came out was in 2005 for the Game Boy Advance. That's Battle Network 6, Cybeast Gregar, and Cybeast Falzar. Man, these names are terrible. But there are sales numbers for these, in a sense. I have to estimate a few of them to a certain extent, but just come with me on this, and maybe I can get the numbers fairly right on this. So if we look at the sales numbers right now, when it comes to the Battle Network series, okay, I'm gonna list some numbers, and there's specific numbers that are concrete and are available. And then there are other sales numbers that are not so much available. And I'm going to start off with Battle Network 1. Battle Network 1 got 200,000 sales from the time it's released to around, I guess. That's the most updated sales numbers we have. And that's total through all regions. So it's 200K for the first Battle Network game, which from that time is not bad. It was a new game on a new system that had a new twist to what it was. So that is actually pretty good for a game that is basically new in a whole different other directions. Battle Network 2, the only sales data I could get is that after 2002, which is after a year it was released, Mega Man Battle Network got about 450K in sales in Japan. I'm going to say that the sales that were maybe 600K. We'll go around that realm. That's still a lot of sales, and it's very impressive for the sequel. So that led to Battle Network 3 to get 669K in Japan. I am going to estimate that maybe it got total in all regions 900K. We do have a definitive number for Battle Network 4, however, because Capcom has a list of sales metrics that they have on their site called Platinum Titles. What the Platinum Titles say is that if they make over 1 million worldwide, they are listed on these Platinum Titles, which means anything over 1 million gets on that list. And Battle Network 4 is the only Battle Network game that actually got on there. And Battle Network 4 got 1.35 million sales for that specific game on total with both, because I think it was starting with 3 when they broke up the games. So with 4, it got 1.35 million amongst all versions of Battle Network 4. The sales numbers went down on Battle Network 5, which in Japan got 513K. I would say 700K total worldwide. And then Battle Network 6 would be 610K in Japan. I would say probably 750K worldwide. And then the sales numbers for Mega Man Network Transmission, which is the GameCube game that came out, that was a platformer that was based in the Battle Network world, that got 170K total. Not great, but that's what it is on that one. If we look at the sales totals for the known sales data that we have when it comes to the Battle Network games, It is 3.78 million in sales units. If I were to estimate what I think the sales would be total when including worldwide, I would guess total for the Battle Network games would be 5.5 million. At least in that thing. And the unfortunate thing is the Battle Network games are considered Mega Man games when it comes to Capcom. So they include them in the Mega Man metric, which has 158 titles and has unit sales up to 38 million. When it comes to unit sales on Mega Man. So that's not really helping. With that said, I mean, that's the best I can do with the total sales when it comes to Battle Network. Okay, which, if you look at the 5.5 million 5.5 million units, and I think at the time when they were selling on the GBA, the prices were $30, I believe. So sales numbers were about, at the time, $165 million in sales. Not bad. Not great, but not bad. So that's 165 million in sales for 6 games. Technically 10 games because 4 of them were broken into 2 different games. So not bad to a certain extent. So $165 million in sales for Capcom for that time. Now, let us go into the collection sales, okay? The collection sales are actually pretty interesting. I'm actually surprised by some of the numbers. So, if we're going to look at all the collection sales on all consoles and all systems, okay? The Mega Man Legacy Collection got 1.3 million units in sales as of June of last year. That's really not bad for a compilation set, which led to the Mega Man X Collection to get actually even more reportedly. It got even more sales, 1.4 million, which is fantastic, which is really good. Well, I wouldn't say fantastic, but it's really good for a compilation set, which are just ROMs that you put in. And I've said before, it's not like these might be really easy, but they take less effort than you do to build a game from the ground up. And then if we look at the last collection that came out, which is Mega Man Zero ZX Advent, these are estimated. It looks as if the total were 250K on that collection set, which, not great. But on the other hand, the Advent and Zero games did not sell crazy amounts either. So that kind of understandable at that point. And from what I recall too, I haven't tried them yet. I have it on PS4, but I haven't tried them yet. From what I've heard, what they did for those games were kind of bare bones. So I can see why they probably didn't sell very well on that one. So let's just get right into what I think the sales projections might be for the Mega Man Battle Network Collection. I definitely think it will beat out the Zero ZX series. That is a very niche type of Mega Man games that people were into. That was on, I think, the DS, and I think they were on GBA too. But those were games that were, not only they were games that people were used to playing on console, but apparently they were also really tough. So I'm not surprised that they didn't sell well. I think Battle Network will do better than that. In regards to the Mega Man collection, the Mega Man X collection, it's gonna go nowhere near there. I think for the most it will possibly get, I will say 450K, maybe 500K, and here's why. People that are big fans of the Battle Network games, okay. I mean, huge fans have been clamoring for a 7. They probably already have the games on cart, or they're playing it on emulation. Are there people who'd like to play those games on a console for the convenience? Sure, absolutely. I could see that, no problem. But the thing is with that, these still are niche games that have a very small audience to it. I don't think it's as small as Zero or ZX. But I think at this point, when you come to the sales of what I think that Battle Network will be, I think it will be a lot lower in this one. And let's also put this in perspective too. All three of the other collections were priced, I believe, at $40. I'm going to stand corrected here. I know that the Mega Man collections and the Mega Man X collections were $20 each, but they were broken into 1 and 2. So those were $40 total. The Mega Man Zero ZX collection was actually $30. The Mega Man Battle Network collection, if I go onto Steam right now and I look at Mega Man Battle Network collection, they're asking for $60 for this game. That is a big problem. Because you are not only taking a game that, let's be honest here, as much as there are fans of those games, they are niche. They are very niche, in fact, even though they are Mega Man fans. You are taking those set of games that have a specific audience and upcharging them to $60. And let me also say this too. They're claiming 10 games in this collection. There's really 6 because 4 of those games were broken up into 2, and they did the Pokemon thing where certain chips you can't get in certain games, and you would have to trade them with somebody else who has the other card. So you're not really getting 10 games. You're getting 6 in this. So there's that thing as well. You know what? I'm going to lower my expectations a little. I said about $450. I'm going to say $325, $350. I think that's what the sales are going to be for this collection. Now looking at the price. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be as bad as the Zero ZX collection, which I don't think the Zero ZX collection was bad. I think for those types of games that people either were not aware of at the time or were not really big fans of, or didn't even know they existed, think that it was going to capture that much sales. But I think for that series, that's pretty good. But for the Battle Network collection, I think that's too expensive for the set. So in that instance, unless they drop the price like soon-ish, or like say 6 months later, I think $350K is all they're going to get in this one. So I think this is going to be it's not going to be anywhere as big as Mega Man and Mega Man X. But I think it's not going to go anywhere near $1 million. I don't think it's going to make $500K now that I think about it. So I think I think fans might be a little disappointed with the sales numbers. I know a lot of you, I know one person who's on my comment section, I think it's Malleus is what he calls himself. You guys are fans of these games, and you want these games to come back. What would it take for Capcom to then say, okay, we're going to do another Mega Man Battle Network? Word of mouth and fan base interacting with Capcom can do that at times with certain companies. That has happened. I don't think it's going to happen here, and mainly due to the sales on this. I'm estimating that the sales number is 5.5 million for the entire series, which is not bad. But then you have to consider the cost of making these games. Let me ask you guys a question. Would you accept a Mega Man Battle Network 7 or a Mega Man Battle Network whatever they would have in this with the same graphical style as it was in the GBA? Or maybe like a little bit of an up-res? Because if you want something like that, or maybe it's $20, $30, it's a small game, and maybe there's not a trading aspect to it, it's just a small, quaint RPG, you may get that. You may get like a nice, small-ish kind of RPG in that sense. And maybe they can hire the people from One Step from I think it's called One Step from Eden, I think the game is called, that made that game and say, hey, will you develop this for us? And, oh yeah, sure, great. Maybe that's how they can do it. But there are several problems with this as well, and it's that the two people that made this game, Kenji Inafune and Masakazu Iguchi, I don't think either. Well, I know Inafune is not with Capcom anymore. I don't think Iguchi is there either. The last credit that he's had on a video game is Mega Man 11 in 2018. If you're hoping for like a sequel to that, I don't think that's going to happen unless the two people that actually spearheaded the project beforehand were able to do it. And I don't think either of them are there anymore. So that's one problem. The other problem, basically, is that Capcom is on a big run right now, and they are killing it with their big titles, with their big franchises. We're going to have a new Dragon's Dogma coming. We're going to have a new Monster Hunter coming. Like, Monster Hunter, it's huge. You're going to see a new Ace Attorney. I'm gonna bet that. Of course, you're going to have new Resident Evil games. Street Fighter, of course, is coming back. When it comes to their franchises, they're with how expensive games are at this certain set of time, they're gonna go for the big boppers. They're gonna go for the big franchises. And we haven't seen a new Mega Man in 2018. Now, I know one of you are gonna say, "Hey, Wiz, what is the best-selling Mega Man game of all time?" And I will answer that for you. It's Mega Man 11, and that might surprise some of you. But yes, Mega Man 11 got 1.6 million units sold from its game at a $30 price point. As much of you might say, oh, well, then Mega Man still sells. Hold up. Just 1 second, okay? That depends. If Mega Man was a $60, $70 game, I doubt it would have sold that well. It got sold that way because it was cheap. And it was from a popular franchise. And if I remember correctly, and I played a little bit of Mega Man 11 too, so I kind of agree with this. I don't think a lot of people were a fan of Mega Man 11. I really wasn't either, and I love Mega Man. And even though I love the old Mega Man games, I especially love the X games, 9 and 10 were okay, and I just did not dig 11 at all. They would have no problem trotting out Mega Man in a Versus game, or have him be a special costume in another game. They would have no problem with that whatsoever. Expect in Dragon's Dogma 2 that you'll have armor that looks like Mega Man. Just watch. I'll bet that money, okay? But in regards to making a new Mega Man game, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I think the sales for Capcom for their bigger titles would have to plummet. I mean, I would have to say that Monster Hunter would have to start making less and less money for them to bring back Mega Man. And by that point, it might be too late. I don't see a way where anything Mega Man, including the Battle Network series, is going to come back in this. If it were to come, if there is a shot, and I mean a minuscule shot, if there is a shot for the Mega Man Battle Network series to come back, it would have to hit sales numbers of at least 750K to about 1 million. And I'm going to say this comfortably, that ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. And those numbers, I mean, those would be great numbers, but that's also no guarantee that the Mega Man Battle Network games will come back. Because if you look at their big titles right now, like they're making new Street Fighters, they're making new Resident Evils. These are huge games that they're selling here. And they're trying new IPs with Exoprimal as well, which I think is really a Dino Crisis game in like disguise, but I'll get past that. So I don't really see them going back to the Battle Network games in this. I just do not see that ever happening in like, say, the next 5 years. I don't even see them going back to Mega Man. And if they're not going back to Mega Man, which really makes more money and has more unit sales, I just do not see them going into the Battle Network series. Sorry, guys. I know that doesn't sound great, but the beauty of the way the industry is right now is if you go in the indie space, I think there are more games like that nowadays than anything else. I mean, I've mentioned... let me make sure I got the name of the game right. I think it's One Step from Eden. I liked it. I thought it was cool, but like, if you are looking for that combat, that game is pretty good. It doesn't have any of the RPG mechanics. I know that's a disappointment because it's a roguelike. And because I'm a sicko, it's a roguelike. I have to play it. Because of that, I think that might be the best shot you have when it comes to a game like this. So, and One Step from Eden is $20. So if you haven't checked it out, I would say check that out. But on the other hand, too, card battlers are like a big thing nowadays. So, like, if you're not into, you don't get that game specifically, look at other card battler games that you can play. Like, there's like a ton of them out there right now that you can enjoy. So, I know it sucks. I know, like, there's a lot of you that are actually big fans of the Battle Network series, but I would temper your expectations in thinking that it is coming back. I really do not think it's coming. It would have to have huge sales for it to come back, but Maybe I'm wrong, and I hope for your guys' sake I'm wrong too. But I really do not see a chance that's coming back. I think at this point, Mega Man and all of its iterations, they're just gonna milk out the nostalgia for Mega Man until it can't be milked anymore, and they're gonna mothball it until they can do it again next generation. I think that's what Mega Man is gonna be from now on, unless they make another Versus game, or they do another thing like a Project X Zone, like a Project Cross Zone. Sorry, that gets made. That's the only way we'll ever see another Mega Man anything ever again. I hate to be the bearer of bad news on that, but I think that's what it's going to be. Well, what do you guys think? Do you think the sales for the Mega Man Battle Network collection is going to be better than what I think it is? Do you think it's going to be worse? Do you think there's a chance that the Battle Network games will come back? Sign off on the comments. You can check me out on social media at Capital Games Pod. If you are interested in movies this week, me and Zero are doing a 2-for-1 special. On Tuesday, we're going to do Dune, the 2021 movie directed by Denis Villeneuve. And I am forcing Zero now to suffer with me to watch Clerks 3, directed by Kevin Smith. So if you want to hear our comments on that, you can check us out on the Capital Games Movie Club YouTube page, where we will review those movies. And if you're on the podcast feed, it's right on the podcast feed, so you can check those out on that one. Tune in Wednesday, where I'll have a news segment to talk about on what's going on in the gaming industry. Maybe some interesting news will all be talked about. Maybe we'll talk about something more evergreen. We'll see. But until then, this is Capital Games. I am The Wiz. Talk to you next time. Bye.